Hey, what's going on, everybody? David Noe with Speakeasy HR, presented by Payroll Partners. We are back with a brand new episode, brand new guest, my friend from in Canada, one of the best, largest YouTube channels for HR, joins me today. Andrea Adams with the HR Hub. How are you today, Andrea?
I am great, thank you. And I really like your intro. That's great.
Well,
I'm gonna have to take notes afterwards about some of
yeah,
the things you're doing. It's fun.
yeah, absolutely. It's a little catchy, a little jingle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Gets you going on a Monday. So we are live on LinkedIn and YouTube. If you are watching, have a question, chime in as we get into this topic that Andrea is bringing to the show. So, Andrea, for those who don't know you, maybe this is the first time they've heard you talk, and obviously you have your YouTube channel, the HR Hub. So we'll get into that. But tell everybody about yourself.
Where to start? No, I'm kidding. I'm obviously an HR YouTuber. I've been doing that for 5 years, and I'm also an HR consultant, mostly to small and medium businesses. Uh, I I do a lot of crisis HR actually.
Okay.
Mass resignations, terminations, investigations, all that kind of thing. I think mostly just because I'm a good emotional, like it's stressful stuff. I'm a good partner in those circumstances. Um, yeah, that's about it. Otherwise, personally, I like biking
Okay.
and hiking and
Okay.
enjoying the Rockies, which I am close to.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And you're in Calgary?
Yes,
All
Calgary.
right. All right. Very good. I haven't been to Calgary. I've been to Canada a few times, Toronto, Ontario, and
Hmm.
that area, but definitely it's a
Banff. I am close to Banff. I think it's like our number two tourist destination in Canada.
okay. All
Yeah.
right. Well, it's great to have you on as we have connected over the past, I don't know how many months. We both
Hmm.
are part of the Work Defined podcast community. So you can find both of our podcasts out at Work Defined, the great people over there. It's
Hmm.
ever growing podcast community. So any kind of HR, workplace, AI, payroll. There's all kinds of fun topics over at Work Defined. So check that out. So Andrea, what's along the way? This is a question I am asking everybody that comes on, and it's about your career and advice you've been given. You know, in times where you felt like it was maybe good advice, but it turned out to be amazing advice. So what's been the best piece of advice you've ever received in your career?
Find a place you fit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, because if you find a place you fit, there's that flow is there that sort of the intellectual connection to what you're doing is there. Things go easy and they go easier, and you can focus on adding that extra level of value. And when you don't fit, everything feels awkward, it's hard. I am also going to recognize that I learned that lesson the hard way, and a lot of us are going to learn that lesson the hard way.
Yep, absolutely. You get one of
Mhm.
these.
Yay.
Pr Awesome, one of a kind Speakeasy HR mini air horn, so keep those coming, and yeah, great piece of advice there. I feel like as we get into this topic too, which is about navigating change fatigue in the workplace, when you fit well, you can probably navigate that change a little better, so we'll get into that.
Hmm.
Um, all right, rapid fire questions, and then we're gonna do the world famous envelope icebreaker game with you.
Woohoo. I'm
All
looking
right,
forward to that
rapid
one.
it's fun, I promise.
Okay,
Rapid
good.
fire, is change fatigue getting worse, or are we just talking about it more?
When we talk rapid fire, how much time do I have? What's rapid?
5 seconds.
Yes, it's getting worse.
Okay.
And there's evidence to say it is.
Yes. What's the one sign, in your opinion, that a team doesn't have the foundation to absorb more change?
If your engagement survey says that there's low trust in your organization,
Yep. Trust or communication, which matters more when leading through constant change?
trust, because if you don't have trust, the communication is not going to be received.
Yep. Are leaders underestimating how burned out employees actually are right now?
Well, I can't speak for every leader, but generally speaking, probably yes, because of some of the numbers are kind of shocking.
Yeah. All right. Last one. One word. What do most organizations skip that makes change so hard?
The foundation,
Foundation.
trust,
Love it.
like building trust, paying attention to connection, just the foundations. We spend too much time on change management and not on the things that are going to make that stuff land. That was more than 5 seconds.
That's all
Sorry.
right. You still get one. You still
Okay,
get one.
good.
So, all right. So, world famous. I think it's world famous. I don't know. Everyone else can say probably
If you,
otherwise. But, this is a fun game. We're going to transition to this. Just think of a number 1 through 15 and give it to me in about 10 seconds after this here. All right. 1 through
11.
15.
11.
11. I love it. Okay, she got number 11. Here we go. What is in the envelope? Drum roll. Okay. If you could swap jobs with any character from a TV show or movie for one day, who would it be and why?
That one hurts me. I don't watch TV
Movies?
or move. No.
No?
So I'll just have to think back to. Oh God. I watched a dog movie with my daughter recently. Maybe I'd swap the dog was a hero. I'd swap
Oh,
places with the dog.
there you go.
There you go.
Doesn't have to be a person. That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, thanks for playing. I feel like I know you a little better. Everyone listening probably knows you a little better too. So grab a quick drink, just a few messages from our sponsor payroll partners, and then we're going to dive into it here with your
Okay.
topic on change and fatigue in the workplace. So hold on one second.
Finding a new employee takes time and money. For one position on a single job board, you could easily spend a minimum of $5 to $10 a day advertising a job post. It's worth noting that the average time it takes to hire a new employee is 36 days. However, it can take longer than that. You could find yourself paying hundreds of dollars a month for a single job board. And if you're using multiple job boards for multiple positions, this could add up to thousands of dollars a month. There is a much simpler and more affordable way of finding the right candidate. At Payroll Partners, we offer an applicant tracking system to help manage your hiring process. Our ATS is customizable, allowing you to decide which days you want to run the job and when to close it so you don't break the bank. And this feature lets you e-blast your network, posting jobs on multiple boards at once, all managed in one location. Payroll Partners, elevating your payroll and HR experience.
I can't hear you.
Uh-oh, I'm on mute. Sorry.
There we go. Much
I don't know
better.
if it transitioned right or not. It's okay. Anyway, if you are in the business of payroll and HR for your organization and that's part of your focus, we have solutions that might be beyond what you have now. If you have bad service, bad experience, there's so many different technologies out there. We love to customize it. We love to make it easier on the company, no matter if you have 2 employees or 2,000. So look us up, look me up on LinkedIn, payrollpartners.net. Would love to work with you and your business. So, all right. Well, top shelf topic. Ooh, it needs to slow down. My goodness, why is it going so fast? It's like, there we go. Okay. I swear, this thing, I tell you what. All right. So, as the ticker says, top shelf topic that Andrea brought today, and you've been in HR for a few years, so you've just a few,
Just a handful.
just a handful, and so you've been doing this HR hub for 5+ years. You're working through change management for organizations in a lot of times things that they just don't know how to navigate through. And so when I talked to you and connected with you about coming on Speakeasy HR, I was trying to figure out exactly what you wanted to talk about, and I think your background and what you have done and what you've been exposed to, I think fits so well with this. So navigating change fatigue in the workplace, every company goes through change. It could be big or small depending on the situation. Um, So what made you want to talk about this? What patterns are you seeing currently?
Yeah, so it's sort of come to me like from two different angles. It's come to me from the YouTube channel, it's come to me from consulting, and they're kind of meeting in the middle.
Yeah.
So I have, like you said, I've been doing the channel for 5 years, and it is shocking the number of times these foundational things are coming up. Trust and connection. It's coming up over and over, and in odd places. It comes up with compensation. I've done, on mentoring, on burnout, on, I've done some directly on those topics as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's just coming up over and over. And honestly, like, are you seeing the same thing? Trust and connection coming up, like,
Yeah.
and we're living in this low trust world right now, and I hope it doesn't get worse. Well, I suppose it could. And yet it's just having trust, it just makes everything so much easier.
Yep.
So it's coming up on the channel, but it's also coming up as a consultant. Like, I had a client hired me to help them with a bunch of employee relations problems they were having. And it was overwhelming that, labor relations, trying to get unionized, angry employees, policy abuse. And the way they were trying to address it was by having a party every Friday afternoon. And that's not, you're ignoring these, underlying issues. You're not going to build trust by a party. And that's hardly the only one. When I think about all the clients, and I've had, let's say 50. And I think about all the clients I've had two or three where it really felt like trust was present with those clients.
Mhm.
And, but when it is, everything goes easier. And, and then you layer in on top, you know, the pace of change, and the ones that are going to succeed, I think, are the ones where there's trust, and connection factors in there too, but trust is just so
Abs
important.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Hmm.
I see that with companies we work with, and, you can get payroll anywhere. You can look up and just research and find payroll companies out there to do your payroll processing, but when it comes down to, do you trust that company? Same with employees. Do you trust the company you work for and the future of the company? And if not, you probably are going to lose those employees. So I, I I definitely agree with you on that. Trust and connection is huge. So
Hmm.
um, so what are the pressures on organizations right now that make this different than all the change that has gone on before?
Yeah, I think this is such a good question because, like, ever since I got out of university, we've been talking about the pace of change. I'm sure you're there with me. Like, and it's like, and the ever increasing pace of change, and it's a cliche, and it's just kind of like tiresome. But I do actually, and here I am, I find myself, I'm on the other side now. I'm talking about the pace of change, but it's coming at us from so many angles. Like, when I started working, it was like one major, technical implementation, over 2 years, and then you're done. Right now, like, that's so not what we're experiencing right now. And so there's this three kinds of change I think we're dealing with right now that make this time unusual. We've got um, we've got technical change, obviously, with AI, and then that is so profound when when we truly start thinking about it, because it's happening at the task level. It doesn't happen like, a systems implementation where, everybody has a different role within the system, but it's still the same system. And once you take the old one away, they have no choice but to comply, right?
Yep.
Um, it's happening at the task level, and it's different for different jobs. So that has a really profound implications around change and the pace of it, because every 6 months we've got, almost a new entire generation of AI. And so that is creating it's more change. And, I speak from some experience. My husband's an AI consultant, and it's, I liken it to popcorn. Every time you turn around, there is a new AI solution, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's one. And then you've got the pace of cultural change. It's also, I, I think that's really unusual. The pace of cultural change is it's fueled by, I think, social media, which means the ideas can propagate really fast. And then you've got, it's also fueled by the polarization that's present. It's present in Canada, I think, maybe not to the same degree that I think it's present in the US, but it really influences. So, like, take, for example, DEI. That's a pretty polarized topic where there's some people for it, there's some people against it. And so it came in like a tidal wave, and we all got on board and we changed our systems and we did all the stuff. And, in many cases, me included, we really bought in and we believe in the ideas of it. But then all of a sudden we're being asked to remove it. And that's an emotional shift for so many people. For a lot of people I know, that there is almost a level of grief attached to that because they had so bought into the ideas. And but we're being asked to take it out even faster in some cases than it went in. And that's just an example of the kind of cultural change. There's others too. You can think about ESG, maybe even the focus on climate change. I suspect climate change might come back. But, so there's lots of cultural change. And then on top of that, right now we're experiencing a lot of economic change. Economic systems seem to be changing, creating uncertainty.
Yeah.
And that creates the need for organizations to respond quickly. And so we've got all of this change and employees having to absorb it, having to buy in, having to make it happen. That's hard.
Yeah.
That is just, that's hard. And that all of that coming together at once and getting faster, I think that is what makes the current situation different than it probably has been in the past.
Yeah. So how much of the change fatigue we are seeing is related to trust? And that was one thing that you brought up before.
I think a lot. I think a lot. Do I have data to support this? I don't know, maybe not. But think about yourself. Like, if you're in a situation where you trust the people that are making decisions, you're not going to be as anxious. You're not going to be worried. You're going to be less stressed.
Right.
Yes, there's change, but if you trust the people making the decisions, it's going to feel better. And the level of emotional effort that you're putting in or wasting because you're so worried it's going to be lower.
Yeah.
And change fatigue is I think all about that emotional experience of change. And if we can take the emotional experience down by building trust into our organizations, those employees have more time to focus on what we, actually want them to focus on, which is, bringing that AI on board and, making it a true partner, or, whatever else the change is. I think the two go hand in hand and there's no getting around it.
Right.
If you want to reduce the level of change fatigue, which I think we should want to reduce.
Right.
Because if people aren't so tired by it, they can take it on board, integrate it, move faster. Like, I think we should be interested in reducing the level of fatigue employees are experiencing right now.
Yeah. So what does trust in a real organization look like in your experience? And I say that with new hires coming in, but also your current workforce and how you can really keep that momentum going so that it's easier when there's change happening. So how does trust in a real organization look like?
Have you worked in an organization with lots of trust? That's putting you on the spot, isn't it? Okay, never mind. So I said I haven't consulted to too many organizations where there was a lot of trust present. But in the ones it wasn't that they didn't have conflict. And that they didn't have difficult stuff. It's that the tenor of it was just like, woo, down. Instead of, a change announcement causing, you think about the change curve, right? You go up and there's the questions and the anxiety, and then you come down and you have got the adoption. It's like in organizations without much trust, the change curve is really high, but in organizations with more trust, it's lower.
Yeah.
It just, people are still anxious. They still worry, but it's just not the same degree. Everything is just taken down a huge notch. And in the organizations where I have seen it happen, leaders were genuinely interested in what their employees thought. There's a genuine sense of transparency. We talk about transparency a lot when we talk about trust, but there's genuine transparency. So like one example was a leader who's, and sometimes decisions have to be made fast. So he's trying to make a fast decision, but he would take decisions to his leadership team, and he would say, 90% of this decision is made. Help me with that last 10%. This is what I'm thinking. This is where I'm at. This is the part you get to shape. What do you think? So that was one approach I saw that worked. At another organization, the leader really consulted. So they had really open meetings, and there really was two-way communication happening. So she would share an idea, and employees, which takes a level of psychological safety, which we need, is part of this too. I mean, it's this complex kind of intermingling. Anyways, she would consult with employees, and they would tell her. And so, yes, and I think there's a reluctance to consult with employees because we think it's going to slow the process down. And I'll be honest, it does. It slows the process down if we are going to engage with employees. But what we don't talk about enough is that it expedites the part after. So yes, you go slow at first to get that, some of those core foundations and decision made, but you go slow to go fast. You go slow to consult the employees, but once that trust is there, they know what the direction is, then you can move fast. And I've seen it happen where put new policies into place, and there's no, people are not suspicious. They take it on board and go. So it's just, it's probably the easiest way to say is that the tone of everything just comes down, 25, 30 degrees. Everything just feels easier.
Yeah. Is there a situation that stands out to you in your work that you saw a transformation of the company and how you kind of played a part in that when it comes to the employees' trust level? Because at some point, I'm sure your clients figure out like something's wrong. We've got to phone a friend. We've got to phone Andrea and figure out like how we can get to a better place. And so, what primarily was that situation when it comes to that? Like where did that process go with that company? Does any company stand out that you worked with? And just the overall, I guess, situation, and like, was it just the change in leadership? Was it the change in communication styles? Like, what generally changed in that situation to build that trust?
Usually when you get a change in leadership, trust takes a little bit of a nosedive.
Yeah.
So it's important for that, new leader to take steps to build or maintain trust. I have seen it happen, and there was and like I said, I get involved at times of tension, crisis. So I got involved in the termination of a particular leader, and I mean it was ugly, like employees going to occupational health and safety anonymously because they didn't trust what would happen if they reported internally. Anonymous complaints getting filed. It was a not-for-profit getting filed to the board because they, again, didn't trust what would happen, even at the board level, if they shared their names. allegations of, minor violence, uh, definitely harassment. Um, but the lack of trust also meant that there were lots of people who were supposed to be talking and weren't talking. So there were financial problems of financial mismanagement that nobody, that you had to just discover
Yeah.
because because nobody's telling anybody about it because there's so little trust. It was really bad. Um, in the end, that person ended up being let go and was placed. And, to the best of my knowledge, like the change, and I was part of that. So, and I've just been following along and, keeping the pulse sort of. And it's remarkable, the difference.
Yeah.
The trust building, the predictability. There's so much work to do, and trust is so easy to erode and so hard to build.
Right.
And so this new leader, she's got her work cut out for her for sure, but she's doing a great job, and it's really coming along. So I'm, pleased by that. That's an example.
Yeah, definitely. Albert's watching live. Thanks, Albert. Greetings to everyone who is listening. Good topic for discussion today. Yeah, I mean, this is something that every organization has to face, and I feel like when you have good retention of clients, when you have good retention of employees, it means a lot of your people trust you, right? So
Hmm.
I kind of look at anytime I'm in an HR role, and my job is to hire, retain, train people. If
Hmm.
that retention level isn't high, something's wrong. And if there's a,
Yes, that is true. That's
it could be
very true. Yes.
the middle management, right? People couldn't trust the middle manager, people that they have to report to, if they don't respect them. And let's
Hmm.
face it, now you've got however many generations working together. that,
5
that
apparently.
that that plays a little bit of a change, right? You have people
Yeah.
coming into the workforce for the first time, and what do they expect out of a company as opposed to somebody that's been working for 25 years? So those expectations are going to be different. So you talked about trust earlier, you talked about connection. So let's talk about connection. So what role does connection at work play in whether people can actually absorb ongoing change?
This one I think is just so interesting. Uh, like intellectually interesting and also, I don't know, maybe validating. Anyways, um, I often think about this Harvard's longitudinal study of people, and I'm not good at remembering details of stuff, but they've been surveying the same group of people for a really long time. And the people that are healthiest and living longest are the ones that are most connected, that they have close connections in their lives.
Hmm.
And connection builds health. And but it also is a buffer for things like burnout. Like if you feel connected, if you've got that bestie at work, like you feel safer. There's somebody you can talk to when you're having a bad day. There's somebody that's is going to sort of hear you out or make it crack a joke and
Yeah.
make you laugh and like give you, share a perspective with you.
Yep.
Uh, so it's connected with health, and change fatigue is connected with not being healthy. And so if we want to give people more of a buffer, more of like their well to be deeper, we want them to have connections at work.
Yeah.
That's just more resilience to draw upon. And that's another place it's come up is resilience, because I have had that conversation too, and it's come up in conversations about resilience. Gallup has been telling us for decades that connection at work matters. They've been one of their top 12 questions is, do you have a best friend at work?
Hmm.
And they keep asking the question because it matters. It matters a lot. If people are not engaged, no, sorry, if they don't have a connection at work, they're chances of being engaged is only 1 in 12. So it's, it's just, I think it's the secret sauce that we just need to build more connection. It would go such a long way to solving so many problems too. If we did, I talk about polarization. If we could just help people be connected and see that everybody has something to contribute and a valid point of view, it would just go such a long way. I think connection is, amazing.
Yeah, definitely. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube. If you have questions watching live, throw them in the chat. Would love to hear from you. We have a few more here with Andrea Adams. She's the owner and senior HR consultant for the HR Hub. You can check more out at the hrhub.ca or her YouTube channel, which is amazing. I've been catching some of that, and it's awesome. Appreciate all you're doing on YouTube. So, okay, so what does a workplace that's coping well with compounding change look like?
Well, it sort of goes along with all I've been saying. They've done this fundamental work. They are doing the things that it takes to build and maintain trust. Interestingly, though, they are also helping their employees form connections. And before we all give up and say, well, it's an employee's job to build connections. Okay, yes, that is true. We can't force it on them, but there is actually lots of science out there that, we could help them do it.
Yeah.
We could make those opportunities for them to build connections. And they're not even that expensive. There's, I talked to Ryan Jenkins. I'm not going to take credit for any of this on the channel this winter. And he has a tool that based on dating. And so people go in and they, fill out the survey and then they get matched and they're using dating research. Of course, we don't want that kind of, I don't want to encourage that kind of thing. I know obviously it happens, but oh my God, it also the drama. Anyways, but friendships, we can encourage friendships. We know how to encourage dating. Why not encourage friendships? And, so there's that. We could just build a nicer lunchroom.
Yep.
Like something that's more inviting. There are just lots of really inexpensive things we can do that help our employees build connection. So they've got that one person.
Yeah.
I talked to somebody else who's got a tool for conversation, for creating conversation amongst teams. So it's got lots of benefits, team performance, collaboration, but it also is going to build trust, and it's also going to build more connection. There's so much we can do that is not expensive, and that potentially has a lot of value to the organization. In terms of all of these things, these qualities we want in our organization. So, but that doesn't really answer your question of what is an organization dealing with compounding change? What do they look like? Happier people, less drama, less contempt. That's one of my favorites because there's so much contempt and cynicism. So less contempt and cynicism in our organization, forgiveness. It's all kind of like your basic sort of chicken noodle soup kind of stuff. But isn't that where we want to be?
Yeah.
And it's not to say that they are perfect by any stretch. That does not happen.
Right.
But better. We can do better.
Yeah.
HR can help create better. And I think for, the path to better is it starts with trust, connection's great. Do those things and set yourself up for easier change.
My guest next Monday, the topic is just a spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. It's how to squash the Sunday scaries. So
yes.
a very good segue from this topic. So
yes, it's going to do that. Who would you definitely be more excited to go to work if you know that, your work best friend is going to be there, or you got, you are having positive experiences there.
You spend a lot of time with the people you work with, more than your family.
Sure, yes, you sure do.
So
yeah.
Okay, so what practical steps can HR leaders take that don't require a big budget or a formal program that you haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, it's a little bit, I know, HR, we influence. So
Hmm.
it's how do we build and use the influence we have. And so we have to educate ourselves. So I would encourage uh, HR leaders to read Charles Feltman's book, The Thin Book of Trust. He talks about 4 principles of trust in there. Let me remember them: reliability, sincerity, competence, and care. These are the 4 dimensions of trust. And when we are mindful of those 4 dimensions of trust, we can work to build them. We can also work, use our influence with senior leadership when we have that opportunity. Mindful that your audience is probably a lot of different levels with differing levels of influence. Um, but if you've got a client you want to build trust with, you can say something like, I want there to be trust between us. What does that look like for you? I mean, that is brave, but who doesn't want that? I mean, maybe you're going to get that super cynical leader who like rains on your parade, but good for you for trying if they do that and they're a jerk. It says more about them than it does about you. So there's that. Around connection, again, like, use your sense about where this fits, but also, instead of next time, if you yourself want to build connection, go to somebody and say, can you help me? Rather than asking AI.
Yeah,
Like, that's something that's going to build a connection. People want to be helpful.
right.
Most people.
Most people,
Most people. So that's something you can
definitely.
do. And if you have a budget, there's lots you can do. Lots, so much. There's systems to encourage conversation, and I've talked to somebody on my show who was doing that. There's I talked about connection. There's that. There's workshops. There's just so much. It is important, of course, and I surely acknowledge that it's important to work with leaders and align along business direction. All of the stuff we're doing is to create an effective organization that can execute well on the business objectives.
Yeah,
And building trust and connection would be there to do that as well. So how does it fit and match? All of this is just has to all come together.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Got to give you that again.
Yay.
All right. Last question for you, Andrea. If you could give one piece of advice to HR leaders managing this all right now, with change and culture and having influence and connection and trust and all of that, what would one piece of advice be that you could give them and give them up to work on?
I think I did it actually a lot in my last example, or my last question. Read Charles Feltman's book, model what we want to see, use your influence where you have it. I like to plant seeds. Sometimes those seeds take a long time to bear fruit, but talk about trust, talk about connection. Don't skip including the connection question when you're developing your engagement survey, rolling that out. Like, do it, do all of that, and as you get more influence, use it.
Absolutely.
All in the interest of creating business value, of course. Yeah.
Definitely. So if you're not following the HR Hub on YouTube, shame on you. You should be out there following this. She has amazing content out there beyond the HR Hub podcast, which you can find on workdefine.com and obviously her website, the hrhub.ca. So definitely go out there, check out her work. And again, if there's something that she offers to businesses that fit what you're looking to get some help with, look her up and connect with her. So, Andrea, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you coming on Speakeasy HR. I've been looking forward to this topic and connecting with you. And so hopefully we'll connect again soon. But
Yeah.
appreciate all the insight and sharing that you did today. I hope everyone learned a little bit like me. I'm going to go back and definitely rewatch and learn more and check out that book that you had mentioned for sure. So appreciate your time today.
Okay. Well, thank you, David. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. Everyone have a great rest of your Monday. And again, check out the next upcoming episodes. Got a lot of episodes planned out through the year. So it's going to get hot this summer, but we're going to have some really hot takes and hot topics to bring you. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.